Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our second sessional interview. This is with Guidance Officer Sandy Bechu and Social Work Officer Miss Maria
Maria
Ramirez.
Ramirez, yeah.
Right, Miss Ramirez. Sorry, could you
Mm-hmm.
give us tell us about yourself, please?
All right. Well, Maria Ramirez has been a school social worker for the past almost 7 years, right? Prior to this, I was a public officer and worked in the public service for 35 years. Prior to this, almost 7 years in a contract position as a school social worker. So currently, right. So currently, I am a retiree, a retired public officer who is on contract with the Ministry of Education into my second contract. When I retired as a welfare officer. But prior to that, I spent 28 years in finance and accounts in the Ministry of Education, dealing with payroll and payroll-related issues. All right, to get back now, to fast forward back to school social work. School social work is a helping profession, and what our portfolio covers, we support families, right? It's always about, to be a school social worker, is about offering services to others, right? And not just services, professional service. All right, we are advocates for the children, right? Basically, what we try to do is, because we know that our children encounter challenges at home, at school, and even within the community, what we try to do is minimize whatever barriers might come their way that is going to affect them from learning. So in other words, we do everything to ensure that we cover areas that if we know it's going to affect the child, we get into those areas and offer our professional services, whether it is in the form of, we cover the services we offer is child care and protection, family intervention, because many times we must involve the family depending on what the situation is with the child. Another service we offer is counseling, consultation and referrals, because if there is a need that comes up and we see where a child needs to be referred, and not just a child, if a parent needs referral, because in many instances, are you all hearing me?
Yes, we are.
Right. In many instances, we have to refer parents to the social services because they need the assistance. So a school social worker will prepare a referral letter and refer a parent. There might be, for instance, I'll give you an example. We might have, we have a lot of deadbeat dads who abandon their children, they don't support, and then we have a lot of single mothers who are in challenging position at times and they are unable to meet the needs of the children. So to do a referral, give a parents a referral to take to the social services on behalf of the children to grant public assistance, as the case might be, it is not unheard of. It is not unheard of. We also have a lot of mothers as well who neglect and abandon their children, and we do have the fathers as well who come up to, what they hold to their responsibility. So let us not rule that out, but the school social worker is there to fill that gap if it becomes necessary after consultation to refer for social services for help. We might also refer a family to the National Family Services if there are issues of domestic violence. There are other issues in the home. We have a lot of social issues now that needs intervention, and I mean professional intervention. So, and we also work with, we have a lot of stakeholders out there we work with, like for instance, the social services, child protection unit, Children's Authority, Childline, so we team up. Like for instance, if After I assess a child, I realize the complaint that came to me is the child depressed, suicide ideation, and issues of that nature. And there is need to refer the child to the child guidance clinic or to our diagnostic assessment intervention unit, or even the psychiatric unit at the hospitals, because I have done several letters for the current school that I am at and other places as well, for students who are in need of the services. Another important role and service offered by the school social worker is conducting home visits. When a complaint comes to us of whatever nature, it is imperative on most occasions that we do home visits. When you go to the home, that is when you get a full idea. You might just get a glimpse of it when you get the complaint at school, but is when you visit the home, is then you get a more holistic picture. You visit the community, then you get a more holistic picture of what is going on with the child. If I may, at this time, I just want to make a reference to a case where, whilst I worked in another district, it was brought to my attention that a child did not attend, a second-year student, did not attend school for an entire term, right? And I was concerned why they took so long to inform the school social worker. Anyway, immediately I went out to do a home visit. And this child happened to be a sibling. He had 8 other siblings, and both parents were unemployed. When I got to the home and I saw the condition of the children, in fact, they were all covered in scabies. They were naked, and they were in steps. Newborn babe in arms, steps maybe 1, 2, 3, and the children were in a mess. Needless to mention that the mother came out first, and she mentioned that they haven't had breakfast, and I was there maybe near 11 o'clock. So immediately when I saw the condition, what I was going to say, in that home, it wasn't just absenteeism that is keeping this child from school. When I saw the social conditions, the squalor in which they lived, I saw unemployment. I saw where the mother needed to go to the family services. She needed to really go to the clinic and get on the family planning, because you already at age 28 already had 8 children, 9 children, your mother helping you with 4. And the 5 who were there with you, they were all covered in scabies to the point where all the hair dropped out, all the skin had patches, and so on. In a case like that, I knew for a fact that nobody would want to take these children in their vehicle. They needed medical attention, for sure. So we're seeing here now where absenteeism is not just absenteeism. I am seeing where these children need medical attention. There was unemployment in the home. There was need for family planning. There were no meals available, right? And then when the father came out, his story was such a lousy excuse. Officer, I can't get anything to do. So I got into a consultation with both parents, and I found out from him, if in the community you can't get a loan to cut from somebody or help somebody do errands, there are so many things that you could do as a handyman around the home. Are you willing to do that? Or his response was he never thought of it, right? So we have families out there, parents who they're just having children and there is no plan. There is no to say, well, they're thinking about the future and let's walk this path and let us do what is best for our children. So I'm saying all this to let you know, when you do a home visit, you get the real picture, you get the real McCoy. So after that, I did a referral letter, right, for the family to attend I wanted the mother to join the family planning, and for they needed the National Family Services intervention, right? In the meantime, I also did a letter, because I know too, I used to be a welfare officer. So I know too, once the father is not dead or disabled, and was not incarcerated, they will seldom grant the public assistance for the children, because the law states that a man's supposed to really take care of his family. I also went so far to do a temporary letter, a temporary referral, asking if the grant could have been extended to this needy family for their shortest possible time. I think it's a 6 months period or something like that, until the father could get work, right? And I gave him some suggestions of stuff that he can do, right? You could walk around in the area and ask persons if they need to get their yard clean up, or, sometimes it have other little issues. You could go walk in the area, find out from the bars and the shops and other people if they need any service, if they need somebody to do anything for them. You can't just sit down. You have to get up and try something, right? I also went that far to raise some funds at the school as well. I went back and I spoke to the principal and I let her know I saw such great need, that these people are indeed in need of care and they are in need of services and they needed it right away, right? So you find the school social worker is going to address matters of these natures, right? Crisis and intervention counseling is something else that we do, which is a similar situation that I just discussed there. That was definitely a crisis intervention, matters that the different areas and avenues I pursued to assist this particular family. I also went so far to call the nurse at the Couva Health Facility, Nurse Ned. I called her and let her know that the condition these children are in, no one is going to transport them in the vehicle, but they need medical attention. And she sent out her team and they dealt with addressing the health issues with the children. They administer medication and so on, so that the parents, and that was another problem, because the mother was saying they don't have money to go to the station, to the health facility to take the children. So as I could have brought the medical service home instead of they having to go, that as well is, crisis intervention that would assist. So those are some of the things that the school social worker would do. We also would have parenting and education workshops with our parents. And we do that on a termly basis, because there are so many social issues within the society. If it is not absenteeism, it's sexual abuse, it's domestic violence, we have suicide ideation, self-harm, and you just name it, it's a long list. And we have cases relative to basically everything. All right. So community outreach, like within this last school term, I submitted my school social work plan in light of COVID, and I saw what was going on with how many children did not have devices to do their work, cannot get online. I tried to hold a meeting with Mr. Ramcharita, but on 2 occasions when I called him, he was always busy and had a previous engagement. But my intention was, of course, with the school's permission, to approach corporate TNT, and the 2 institutions I targeted in the Marabella area was Republic Bank and JTA, really to ask for assistance, financial assistance, to assist our needy students who really needed the devices. But the project can get off the ground yet, but I'm not giving up on it. So we'll have the time, I guess, probably next term. Let's see how it goes, because remember, at this point in time, we're not certain what's happening with school.
Oh, we have a question from Nadia, Miss Ramirez.
Hi, Ms. Ramirez.
Hi.
So thank you for sharing the wide range of social issues that you all face.
Thanks.
And the services that you provide. I was wondering what type of services you all offer to children of special needs or children with disabilities.
All right, the children with special needs and disabilities. Well, I worked prior to at Marabella South. I worked in the primary school area prior to coming to the secondary school last year. And basically, the primary schools have most of the schools that I was in had a special education teacher attached to the school. And it was a team effort, right, between the guidance officer, social work, and the special ed teacher. Now, there are certain services available to our special ed children. Like, for instance, they could be assigned an aide to assist them in the classroom and out of the classroom, right? I have had the privilege of working alongside with the special ed teachers, where that division, they would process applications for aides. Now, I'm not saying every child will get one.
Right.
Say that again?
How easy is the aid accessible?
Well, to be honest with you, it can be challenging at times.
Right.
Because we do have children with special needs, and the law in Trinidad and Tobago under the Special Education Act covers and protects these children. No principal or no school supervisor could refuse to admit a special child into their school. Now, yes, we have special schools, but they are in the minority, and the percentage of special ed children and children with disabilities that we have has outnumbered the spaces in our special schools. So they are within the primary schools among our children who would be considered regular children, right? But special ed makes every effort to really accommodate these children. Like, for instance, when they have SEA, right? They do concessions where children with special needs are provided special privileges during the exam, right? I have worked with many of them because the school social workers usually go out to the different schools and they would tell us what the child issues are. For instance, if a special child during the exam needs a break, let's say to go to the washroom or to go and drink some water, we grant them the time. If they take 10 minutes or so before they come back in the room, we monitor the time and we give them back the 10 minutes. They usually sit before a committee before the exam, and the committee determines what are the privileges they would be given during the exam, right? So apart from granting them the aids, they have other privileges, and special ed continues to work with our children. These aides, mind you, they really go the extra mile. I've seen them in action where, depending on the child's disability, they have to accompany them to the washroom. They have to assist them with their lunch and their snacks. And they usually would stay with these children until their parents or whatever arrangements they have to come and collect the child from school. I remember we had a real special case in one of my schools in the Caroni district, and that child was in Pampers.
Wow.
Hi, Miss. Are there any counseling sessions for these students or even their parents?
Please.
Hello?
Ms. Ramirez, are you there? All right, so while we wait for her to return, I would invite Ms. Bechu. She's back.
Hello?
You hearing me?
I am hearing you.
All right, Keisha just asked you a question. Keisha?
Yeah.
Hi, Miss. Are there any counseling sessions for these students or even their parents, these with special needs?
Of course, of course. I have had special children who I see, the special ed, we work with them in different areas. The special ed teacher would assist them with the classroom activities because the regular curriculum, they don't understand it and they cannot follow it. So most of the time, the special ed teacher, they are trained in such a way that they would go through from basically the basics. Sometimes there are instances when they have to go back to the alphabet and counting maybe from 1 to 10, teaching them to write numbers, teaching them to write letters and so. Now, a lot of the times, our special children, they are being targeted at school. You know, there are children who would jeer them. You know, children can be cruel at times, right? So the school social worker will work with them along the ideas, you know, teaching them that they need to be strong, they have skills, and you usually encourage these children that the talent they have, they can build on it. All right, they might be challenged in one area, but they might be flowing with ideas. I have seen some special ed children. If you see the talent with art, some of them, they could beat drums. You know, they're just talented in the art area. So you have to, as a school social worker, we encourage, and I keep in touch with parents all the time, right? If I don't see them attend a meeting or they were scheduled to meet with me and they don't, I will call, you know, to let them know, well, an observation was picked up in school, XYZ, and I need to see them. If they don't come to me, I'm one of these school social workers who will go home, right? And I will speak to the parent. I encourage the children. And these special children, once they make an accomplishment, they accomplish something, I always like to really pay them compliments. You know, you might see me giving them stuff like stars. I might give them like an eraser, an exercise book to encourage them so that they could continue. And the point is, social worker, you need to encourage these children. And as I said earlier, we try to minimize the barriers that every child faces. Special or no special is a child, and we are there in the school as an advocate, and we come to their aid. So, special children and their parents do receive counseling. They do receive, and this guidance officer work with them as well. Because don't mind the special, some of them will tell you, Miss, I want to be an actor, I want to beat drum, Miss, I want to play football. And you know, the guidance officer, their expertise is to encourage them in the area of career and to let them know nothing is out of reach. Once you want it bad enough, you can accomplish it, you know. So together, the student support umbrella, we work as a team, and our responsibility is to our children first and foremost, and to family members and the community by extension.
Thank you, Ms. Maria.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that efforts are being made to develop that side of these children. Because
yes.
a lot of times they don't believe it, their families don't believe it. I would also like to see though, while you're educating the special needs children, the regular children, quote unquote regular children, should also be encouraged to support those other children in need. So that
because what I usually do, I always encourage them to be kind to them, be a friend to them. Don't tell them hurtful and belittling things. It's cruel, you know, and you must treat others the way you would like to be treated and so on.
And still see their abilities and not, you know, the disability.
Right. And that's right. It's not disabled, they're just special, they're just different. I am telling you the kind of talent some of them have. You would be amazed.
Correct.
Miss, I have a question.
Sure.
Is there any individualized educational plan for them? Any IEPs for students with special ed, or are everything the same with the regular students?
Well, I know that special education division, they always go the extra mile to see what else can be done to accommodate our special children. What else can we do to make them more comfortable at school? Many times the parents need encouragement as well, because we come across parents who don't have the confidence. They feel because their child's special, this child doesn't have a bright future. We do everything to discourage that, and the special ed division, I mean, I cannot tell you what an update as to say, well, what they have in the pipeline right now. But I believe in special ed, and they do put plans in motion to ensure that these special ed children are not left behind. Really
Miss,
nice.
hi, Miss Ramirez. I know that dealing with children with, well, our topic is really speech and language impairment. Is there any case that you came across, like the children having difficulty communicating with you because of an impairment? And what measures do you take if you have a child that you have to work with, but the child is speech or language impaired?
Well, I never had that experience to say that I had a child who had impaired language and, you know, there was a difficulty with communication. But the special ed teachers, they are trained in a special way to deal with these issues. Because what is happening? Student Support Services Division, basically the three main umbrellas is the special ed, the guidance officer, and the school social worker. And every one of us, we have the different discipline covers certain issues. Special ed teachers, they will be trained because if I'm not mistaken, a lot of them are trained like into sign language and to understand if a child is not clear on trying to communicate, if a child is experiencing difficulty. Their training and expertise, they cover that area. But if I observe as a school social worker, if I observe that a child is experiencing some level of difficulty, of course, immediately I would have consultation with the principal, class teacher, and the parent, and then we would take it further, even if I have to do a referral, asking the student support body, kindly investigate this matter. I have observed that student, 10-year-old, whoever standard, whatever, appears to be experiencing some difficulty because remember, we are professionals in our own right, but I'm not a psychologist, I am not a clinical psychologist, I am not. So we have to use jargons and appropriate language to say, well, it appears to us to be so, and we will ask for an investigation and a clinical evaluation.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ramirez. I see Ms. Beatrice's hand is up.
All right, okay.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Hi.
Well, Maria touched on a lot pertaining to student support. So I'm not going to repeat a lot of what she said, all right, because our disciplines are basically similar. You know, just to touch on myself, all right, I have been in guidance with the Ministry of Education for about 3 years, all right. However, prior to the ministry, I would have worked with an organization called the Heroes Foundation for the past 6 years, where I was a program coordinator, right? My reason for making mention to this will touch on the topic that you all are doing. So as a program coordinator, we were assigned to 21 schools across the country, right? The students, they all had to engage in various programs that they had to do based on the academic calendar, right? We touched on a lot of programs pertaining to the environment, personal development, showing respect for others, helping out in the community, teaching children how to have empathy and to give back to others, right? One of the such programs that we developed was a program called Heroes of the Differently Abled, right? So within that program, what we would normally do is that we will seek sponsors, of course, to execute these programs. So Repsol would have been the main sponsor for the Heroes of the Differently Abled program, right? Just to support what Maria was saying, based on the question that was asked, right, concerning the IEP, right? What happens is that the Ministry of Education, all right, they could extend their hand so much, right? The services of the student support with the special ed units, yes, the children are provided with aids, right? But special ed is very small in comparison to social workers and guidance officers and counselors, right? So you would find that not every child will be able to get an aid, right? We have a long list of applicants waiting to receive an aid, all right? That is just to say that it is important for us as officers, guidance officers, and social workers that we would consult with our external stakeholders to get the added support that we need. What happens is that we have a couple in primary schools. We have a lot more primary schools that are equipped with special needs intervention. However, in secondary schools, it's not as mandated as in primary. All right. We have some secondary schools across the country where we place students at SCA based on their disability. For instance, like Southeast Port of Spain, that is the school known for taking in a large percentage of the children who are hearing impaired. So a lot of kids basically within the East-West corridor would normally attend that school. Marabella South, the school that we are in, right? Marabella South was once a school, or it's a school mandated to take in children with special needs. Back in the days, I would say 15, 20 years ago, Marabella South, which was Marabella Junior Sec, they actually had special ed teachers assigned to students who had hearing impairments. The children they used to pass, they were placed there for that purpose, right? What the Heroes Foundation and other NGOs do, right, is that they will assess a school. Once they receive funding in the school, they will go in, they will do a needs assessment, and they themselves will equip the school with various infrastructures based on the needs of the special needs children, right? I have seen instances where in a school up in the east, we had 3 kids who had cerebral palsy. What we had to do is that we had to design a ramp from one area of the school so that the children, when they leave their parents, as soon as they come into the school, they will be placed on that ramp and then they could wheel themselves into the school. Sadly enough, a lot of these secondary schools are not designed to accommodate a lot of the special needs children that we have. All right. So just to say that I would always say it's important to consult with NGOs out there, right? Because different NGOs, like what the work that the Heroes Foundation does, is that they don't just provide the infrastructural support needed, all right? But what we do is that they could allow to help to hold big campaigns where they could advocate, sensitize the whole student population. Because a lot of the times when children laugh at other children with special needs, it's simply because they do not understand, right? This topic is still very much tabooed in our society, even among our adults, right? So the idea is to allow this generation of youths coming up, to be sensitized and to show respect, because at the end of the day, like I used to tell the children, we are all differently abled in some way, because I am different to you. We are all different, all right? Some disabilities you can see, other disabilities you can't, right? So it's just to sensitize them, I've literally seen other interventions where the students, they had to come up with various creative ideas to support students who were hearing impaired. And I have seen in a certain school where the children decided, okay, we are going to create a light and bulb switch so that the hearing impaired students will know when the bell rings at different periods. So that school got that intervention where when the bell rings, the students who are hearing impaired will know because the bulb will be flickering throughout the entire school. But those are interventions, unfortunately, that the ministry can't provide. That is why it's important to seek external stakeholders to build that rapport with organizations out there. And once you are able to, and you get approval from whatever administration or whoever, you can bring them into your school. All right. Just to add about guidance. So basically guidance, just like Maria said, we are the advocates for the children. We engage in counseling services, group guidance, small group and large group guidance, All right, we do individual counseling plan for students. All right. We also provide information sessions not only to the students but to their parents. We consult with all administration on the compound, likewise external stakeholders, NGOs, supportive groups like Childline and these other groups that Maria would have mentioned. And the role of the guidance officer is to basically provide academic, personal, social, and career guidance to inspire the children, to achieve their goal, to find a goal, kind of encourage them on a specific career path of their interest and choice. With regards to special needs kids, what I would do is that I would inspire them and motivate them so that they can achieve great things. Many times they think that they're unable to do it, or they lack the skills or the physical capabilities to do it, right? So we inspire them by showing them other persons in our society who have done it. We invite these persons to our schools so that they can be motivated to see that, hey, I could achieve greatness. Not because I may have a disability means that I cannot move on and achieve success. So that is where we would, work with them. We have instances where even in our own school, we have children who are illiterate to an extent, really severe, right? And you would find that, okay, we may be calling for aids at different times. Sometimes the list of applicants are so long. What are we to do with these children? Sometimes the counseling sessions that we would have is counseling sessions, not just to motivate and inspire and raise self-esteem and stuff like that. But you would see me from time to time, literally, Maria and I, scraping on the internet, looking for individual lesson plans to help work with these children, because not all schools are provided with a special ed teacher. All right, in the ideal realm of things, each school is supposed to be equipped with at least 2 to 3 teachers who can be able to teach these children who have literacy challenges. But sometimes it's not always provided, right? And the children get lost, all right, through the system. They feel very incompetent. They have a very low self-esteem. And because of that, they will have behavioral issues. People would label them and not understanding that what they have is a disability that they do not see any resolution to. They do not see that they will come out of it. And many instances, what you find is that it's hereditary. So when you look, you will find that their parents, they themselves might have issues with literacy. All right. So they have various learning disabilities out there, So that's I would say that even though we do the best we can as a ministry, there are a lot of stakeholders out there that I think that persons are not really aware of that, and those are avenues that you can tap into to get support, not just for the children, but for parents and teachers likewise.
Thank you very, very much. One question though, in your profession, have you ever encountered a child perhaps with a lisp who has that communication issue, or what we call in local parlance, a tight tongue?
Yes, yes, many of them.
And how were you able to meet that child? How were you able to communicate with that child? What probably based on when the child presented to you, and as you looked at that child's maturity or growth, what changes could you identify or observe?
Well, normally children who have a speech impediment or sort like that, what you would find is that they would have a very low self-esteem. So they may not want to speak, right? Because they feel that when they speak, people will make fun of them, right? So you have to get them comfortable enough. You have to, encourage them, to tell them to take their time, get them very comfortable, motivate them, right? There are a lot of these speech impediments. You would find that it have extremes to it. So if a student is very anxious or excited or something is happening, some sort of emotion is happening based on a stressor or or so, you find that the speech impediment might be worse, right? So it's to basically allow them to understand the triggers, the signs, all right, to calm them, so that teach them, relaxation techniques that they could use to calm themselves, right? Because a child, like for instance, a child who stutters, right? You would find that when the child is a lot calmer, the information would flow. Sometimes children feel that because the words can't come out, I'm thinking it in my mind, but the ability for it to come out it's delayed. What you have to do is you have to allow the child to understand nobody's supposed to rush you. You need to take your time, right? And what you do, you sensitize the children around them, you sensitize the teachers around them, because once their peers and teachers understand and support, the whole thing is about supporting, right? You would find that the child will feel comfortable, and you will find that the impairment, even though it's there and it will always be there, the ability for the child to function would be more enhanced. All right. And you would also find, in my experience, I have seen children who have a speech impediment, but when it's time to sing, they sing and everything flows. So sometimes the speech impediment is just in talking, but then you may have children, when it's time to sing, it's not there. I have seen children who have a creative aspect to do spoken word, and when it's time to do the spoken word, the speech flows. But when it's time to talk naturally, normal, that is when it comes. So just highlight, just focus on, the creative talents that they may have, right? So that they could look at those things as congratulations in their life. All right, so that they would know, okay, if I am able to sing well without the speech impediment, I always talk about David Rudder. David Rudder has a speech impediment, but when it's time for him to sing, nobody will know. And when you tell children that, it's be like, serious, miss? I'm like, yeah. So even as you know that you have a talent out there that you can do, try it. You would find that whatever is your impairment, you may not have the same impairment for whatever gift that you have. So I look at it from that angle.
We have a question from Nadia.
Yes, Nadia.
Hi, good day.
Hi.
So
Good day.
I always used to wonder, an impairment such as stuttering and stuttering mainly. I was wondering if that could ever go away. I know you said it may not go away, but is there?
Yes, some of it can go away, but that may require a treatment plan with a speech therapist,
Right.
who will be able to kind of reprogram the brain. Look at how every individual is different. So they would look at your mouth, how you form the words. They would look at the shape of your tongue to determine, okay, if it is an impediment that could be corrected with a minor surgery. So a therapist, a speech therapist, will be able to kind of guide you and tell you. Some speech therapists will tell you, okay, if you have a 5-year-old child and your child is not speaking well, don't be concerned about that, because they're going to call out certain words that the child is going to be able to say. Like for instance, my son started to talk when he was 3. I had a panic attack. So by the time he was like almost 2, a year and a half, 2, I carried him by a speech therapist. And when she looked at him and she asked him to call out certain words, he was able to call, but his ability to speak fluently was not there. And then she was able to say, no, once a child is able to curve their tongue to call certain words, that is something that they will outgrow. Sometimes they outgrow it, sometimes it continues with them. But you would find through therapy, it will be able to be at a level where you can understand them. So and I have seen certain doctors through therapy with children who are autistic. I have seen remarkable improvements in their speech. But of course, this requires a lot of therapy, which again is very expensive.
Right.
Not everyone is able to afford it.
Yes.
Like I said, the government, we provide interventions to support that through clinics and stuff. But again, the waiting list is so long that a lot of the children, they get lost and they outgrow the system. You
Yes,
understand?
I wanted to ask that same question. If anything is being done in the system itself for parents who can't afford it, because it's very expensive.
Very expensive. And yes, there are clinics, all right, Eric Williams and various clinics, but again, the waiting list is long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people, some persons who can afford, they would see they would make the option, probably to migrate or send the child abroad for treatment. Because with proper treatment, all right, and therapy, sometimes the impairment, it can be, I won't say corrected, but modified to the level where the child is functional.
Right, right. Well, thank you for
Miss,
sharing.
hi.
Hi.
Do you think that more could be done for these children with special needs?
Yes, of course. Like I always say, Trinidad and Tobago, I mean, we have made remarkable grounds. We have leaped some bounds, but I think the topic is still very much taboo, and a lot of parents they still feel ashamed of children who has a disability. Um, I think that not much is being done pertaining to the stats out there on disabilities in our society. I could remember when I was doing my degree and I had a group project and we wanted to find out what was the stats on autism. We couldn't get that information. That was blocked. They told us we couldn't get it, right? So that is just to say that I think as a country, as a nation, that is a very, very taboo subject still. We have not reached to the place where enough is being done. I do not think enough of the financial money allocated in the budget is allocated towards special needs. I know, for instance, that there needs to be more work done pertaining to parental support for children who has disabilities, because some disabilities it's challenging where parents can't work. Parents have to leave their jobs. So I think enough is not being done in those areas to support both parents and children with disabilities. But like I said, there are a lot of NGOs and external stakeholders out there who work alongside to help. It's just that I think not enough awareness is being done to make the population aware of the services out there available. Um, I know there is an organization, I don't know if you all would have heard about it, Consortium of Disability Organizations. The acronym is CODO. I know they work alongside children and parents to give that added support, especially for children who are in the education system. I know because parents and teachers, I mean parents and children, they feel very stigmatized in the system. We can't get away from that because as a country we have not moved to the next stage where enough is being done. So this organization, they really educate you. They allow you to understand your children, to look out for different behaviors that may manifest from time to time. And they give you a kind of guideline so that when you have to go and represent your child's best interest, you would know, you'll be educated enough to know well what to do, what to say, how to advocate for their behalf. Now, we as student support in every school, we are there to advocate on behalf of all children, right? Even in our own school, we have a couple of kids who has some level of disability. Yeah, we have physical disabilities, we have learning disabilities at our school. You would find that I would always make it a duty, to sensitize the population. All right. I remember last year when we got a Form 1 student who was autistic, I had to go in the class. I had to sensitize the population because they were making fun. They did not understand. And what they was doing was provoking, right? Every single year we get students in the system, special needs students, right? The first thing schools decide to do is try to pass the buck. Okay, let's get them into another school, right? That might be better off. All right, but at the end of the day,
like this year we have two students with cerebral palsy.
Yes.
And we still actually trying to get one was able to come with their student aid from since primary school. It's attempt to get one with another. Now we have a student who's becoming visually impaired that we're trying to get an aid for as well. So I understand.
Yes. You know, so but in terms to say that we as a country, no, I don't think that we have reached that level. Because in the wider states, in bigger countries like in America and Europe, a disability is nothing, you know. They accept everybody, they find jobs for them, they get married, they have families, they function normal. I don't think we are there yet.
Miss Ramirez and Miss Bechu, we want to tell you thank you so much for taking the time out on this lovely Sunday afternoon to share with us your experiences, share with us your views. All right, we are the members of Group 7 of the course Nature and Needs of Exceptionalities. And the information provided here would, of course, help to not only make people aware, but at the end of our presentation, they would be able to leave as advocates of special needs children, especially those in the case of speech and language impairment. Thank you very much. And I want to wish everybody a very good evening.
All right, thank you. You're welcome, and all
Thank you,
the best of luck.
ladies.
The
Yes,
best
thank
of
you.
luck in your
Thank you very much.
in completing and graduating from
Thank
your
you.
program.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.